Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and Donald Trump, and welcome to video message number 25. I don't know how many of you watched that debate last night with the presidential candidates in Boulder, Colorado, but it looked like a bunch of 5-year-olds arguing over a box of crayons. And we want these people to run our country? Let's talk for a second about a $2 billion blimp that the United States Armed Forces had building. And then they lost it. They couldn't even keep control of it. And it crashes somewhere in the middle of Pennsylvania. $2 billion, ladies and gentlemen. They're worried about a $2 billion blimp. And China lifts the ban on having more than one kid. So last night, they all drunk on tiger bone wine, having sex. And by next year, 9 months from now, we'll have another 500 million people on this planet, thanks to our good friends over there in China. So meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, while we got our government worried about $2 billion balloons, China over there quadrupling the amount of people that they have living in their country now. And our politicians, what are we concerned about? We ain't concerned about nobody nuking our ass or China owning our ass. They're worried about whether or not my grandma's got a fucking monkey, of how they're gonna take her rights away next by creating this Primate Public Safety Act bullshit. And I learned something new that I didn't know. Did you know that our politicians are scored by the HSLF scorecard? But does any of you understand what that is? It's the Humane Society Legislative Fund. And our politicians that are running for U.S. president are scored by Humane Society? So let's get into their scores and who we're gonna look at and who we're not gonna look at. Bernie Sanders, he scored over 100. And what does that mean? That means that he voted for every animal welfare law the Humane Society put in front of him. Hillary Clinton, she scored an 83. She was one of the dumbasses that voted to make it illegal to slaughter a horse in America. You know what that done? All that done was lower the market on horses. They sit in pastures. Nobody wants to feed them. Nobody wants to take care of them. Nobody wants to pay a vet bill to take care of a horse that's absolutely worthless, that could have went to slaughter, turned into dog food, glue, or even food for somebody else. But instead, they sit in pastures and they look like this because nobody wants to pay to take care of them anymore. And you politicians think you know what's better for the animal world. I'll tell you what, why don't you stick to $2 billion blimps that you can't even keep tethered, flying halfway across the country, destroying things, and then crashing in a bunch of trees in the middle of Pennsylvania. Let us do our work. We'll take care of the animals. You take care of the politics. Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz only scored a 12, which means that they didn't vote for over half of the animal laws put in front of them by the Humane Society of the United States. And Lindsey Graham, she scored a 38. But the whole principle behind a HSLF score is exactly what? If we're going to vote for people according to what the Humane Society of the United States recommends by their stupid-ass scorecards, fuck, we just as well appoint Wayne Pacelle to the United States presidency, and we could all go to hell. So here we're left with good old Donald Trump. He hasn't been in a political office, and he hasn't been voting for any animal welfare laws, and he isn't being paid off by a bunch of lobbyists because he's got his own bankroll that he's doing this all with. That's another reason why we should all get behind Donald Trump. Start out with a new clean slate, a new president that doesn't have any of these agendas that he likes so much or paid off by the Humane Society of the United States Legislative Fund. All right, so you presidential candidates that have such a good scorecard with the Humane Society of the United States, we got 6 questions for you. We'd like to have 30 minutes of your time to sit down and talk about these 6 questions and see if some of us dumbasses can educate you just a little bit. And I'm gonna ask you them 6 questions right now. Here in America, we have a war in the animal world and the animal rights people in order to take our rights away. And 62.8 million people here in America own pets, and we'd like to know your comments and your concerns about a few issues. Question number 1, how do you feel about 501c3 organizations here in America that are scamming the public for hundreds of millions of dollars to take care of animals, and none of it goes to the animals? 90% of it goes to lobbyists to pass laws to further their agenda. 2, it seems like terrorist is the #1 topic anytime you turn the news on anymore. Are you aware that our own government, the United States Department of Agriculture, declared PETA a #1 domestic terrorist in the United States on November the 30th, 2009, and they're still a nonprofit tax organization here in America? How can you be a terrorist and get a tax break from your own country right here in America? 3, we'd like to know your opinion on how you feel on online bullying, not only of children, but adults, in the name of free speech, in order to bash somebody and ruin their reputation and their good name, only to make money for yourself and get away with it under the Declaration of Free Speech. 4, we'd like to know, how come us Americans that own our own property, own our own houses, and pay taxes on them do not have the right to have our own pets that we choose to have on our property or in our homes? 5, do you not think that we Americans have the right to assume the risk of our profession, no different than a cop, a firefighter, an oil rig worker, or anyone else that has the assumption of the risk of their professions? It is our right. And please, if you become president, give us back our right. And 6, one of the most important, and this kind of touched on your speech at the Oklahoma State Fair, about things being made in other countries and taxing them when they come into America. Do you not believe that it should be a right that any product made from the rainforest or an animal's habitat somewhere in the world should be taxed in order to be sold in America, and that tax money go back to helping rebuild the habitat and the rainforest so some of these animals don't become extinct in the futures to come? I'm Joe Exotic, and along with 62.8 million other people, we'd like to know if you have any answers for any of this. And you wouldn't believe the support you would get. But this war on American citizens and their animals has got to come to a stop. All right, so that's all I got for video message number 25. But ladies and gentlemen, let's put some real thought behind all of this. $2 million for a blimp? For what? We're worried about how to pay off China. They're over there multiplying again, while our country, our politicians, are so goddamn worried about whether or not I have a tiger in my yard or my mama's got a monkey in her living room. So I will see you tomorrow for video message number 26.